Okay, are we live? Yes, we are. Oh, look at that.
All stations, stand by for an incoming radio transmission.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Bob, K6UDA from the K6UDA Guns and Ham radio show and the Idaho Preparedness Channel right here on Rumble. This is an exclusive to Rumble. Well, not so exclusive. We're also going to X, going to the X side over there. So we get a few people over there on X looking at us. And today, man, this is going to be a fun one. We're talking, we're in the doldrums of summertime. And we're talking about motivation. We have noticed, well, you know what, here. Let's bring in Jeff.
Morning.
Oh, good morning. Wow, you're looking really, really spiffy today. Freshly shaved, and look at that camera. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like you don't look like amateur hour anymore.
No, I got rid of the Fisher Price.
Oh, look at that. We got a real radio or a real camera in there. Yeah. So we've noticed, Jeff and I have both noticed, and I think probably everybody else around here has noticed, um, the past several weeks or the past month or two, attendance has been kind of off on the net. Have you noticed that, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, last year before the election, I mean, we were literally having what, 50 to 100 people watching the live stream. And now it seems like we're way, way off from those kinds of numbers. And those weren't typical numbers, obviously, but we're way, way off from those numbers. Um, I kind of attribute part of it, and I'm hoping that it's just summer vacation. Kids are still out of school or they're just getting back into school now. And people people are kind of taking a break, I think, mentally kind of checked out to the whole preparedness thing. Trump's in office, things are looking good from our perspective. Things are looking good. They're looking much better than they did back in October of last year. I was very nervous. You were nervous, weren't you, bud?
I was nervous.
Yeah. Um, Now, you know who's nervous right now or who says they're nervous and they're prepping is the left. All of a sudden, they went from everything is coming up roses to all of a sudden now they're diving into the preparedness thing. And, you know, honestly, if you're on the left right now and you're watching this and you're into preparedness, welcome. Hey, welcome to the club. As I say, I don't care if you're left or right when it comes to this stuff. I know the left has been arming themselves. They've been talking about, you know, oh my God, you know, Trump, it's going to be the end of the world. It's, you know, dictatorship. And he hasn't done anything to show me that he's being a dictator. Everything's been out in the open, unlike the last administration.
W6CJ test.
Ah, Jay is in the house. Good morning, Jay. K6UDA. You're coming through just fine.
Copy, thanks. I heard your earlier message. I'm going to have something to say out to the group this morning.
All right. I'll make time for you. Is it in sit reps or do you want to do a call in? Good morning, Shannon.
On the radio side, with same subject matter as you were talking about this morning.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, you know, you could always break in during the discussion period. I'm going to get back to the pre-show stuff here, and we're just about ready to start the net.
Copy.
All right, K6UDA. Ah, okay. Very cool. Uh-oh. What did I... Something. Let's go to HDMI 2. Let's see. Oh, look at that. See, oh, you can't see it, but I could see now we've got 6 nodes hooked up. We had more. Should I just go to the regular wallpaper? I had my Geochron running up here. That was the big thing, was the Geochron. I've been looking at all the earthquakes and volcanoes. You could get that on the Geochron, all in real time. It's very, very freaking cool. Man, what were we talking about there? Oh yeah, the motivation thing. We decided, you know what? We've got a lot of really heavy, good topics. And I kind of wanted to wait till after Labor Day when people are back at home and they get back into the swing of things. I'm really hoping that it's just a summertime thing, that the attendance for the net is off here. Because I'm committed to this. I'm committed to you guys. And I think I know Jeff is. I know Jeff is.
Yeah, Jeff is committed.
or he wouldn't be here on such a regular basis. And actually, you were talking about doing your own podcast,
I was
or
considering it.
are you still considering it?
I don't know. We'll have to see. It
I
won't
mean,
be
because
for it won't be for at least a month if I do
okay,
anything.
okay. You know what? I think the more the merrier, to be honest. Let's see. Show up. I show up. Yep, K Falls Bob shows up every week. And there's several of you guys that show up every week. This week, hey, if you're so inclined, totally anonymous, you could call in live today. We're going to try that because this is going to be more of a personal discussion. We're going to go over a few points, but we're going to talk about staying motivated, keeping motivated in your preps or in your training or whatever level of preparation you're currently in. I'm going to switch us over to the net here because we got 1 minute. And let's see, KQ6 OT on an FT5. Good morning. Don't know where you're at. As a matter of fact, here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run you down to here. Let's pull that up. And I don't see you on the node list, so you're on YSF. But everybody shows up on YSF there, even me, and I'm on the repeater. We'll go back to the normal wallpaper. It is 9 o'clock. It's time to start the net proper. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. I'm Bob, K6UDA, your net control this morning. This net meets every Saturday morning at 0900 hours Mountain Time on the K6UDA repeater located at the Southern Idaho Command in Twin Falls, Idaho. This is a digital radio net accessible via Wires X Room 40448 and YSF Reflector 40448, both known as the Idaho Command. Also available on the Hanson Butte 2-meter fusion repeater 145.170. And local hams with analog radios can participate using the KB7 DFP repeater on 442.000. The purpose of this net is the free exchange of information related to emergency preparedness, commonly known as prepping. We encourage deep dives into subjects related to food, water, shelter, personal protection, weapons, survival tactics, medical issues, communication gear, and techniques. I'm always looking for subject matter experts to lead discussions on any of these various subjects. If you have material you'd like to present or discuss, when you check in, please indicate that you have a subject. Although not primarily political, discussion of relevant political, cultural, or religious events are welcome in the context of situational awareness and survival. In order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, I'm going to do check-ins and comments in the following order. We'll do local repeater check-ins, Wires X check-ins, YSF check-ins, and then maybe some live stream comments. You're encouraged to check in with your first name, call sign, location, and how you're getting into the net, i.e. the local repeater, Wires X, or YSF. That being said, do we have any local repeater check-ins?
is Kilo Bravo 7 Delta Foxtrot Papa KBA 7, DOT Kenneth with balls with.
All right. Good morning, Ken. Thanks for joining, and thanks for the use of your repeater to carry this net. And I assume no other traffic?
Yeah, that is correct. No traffic.
All right. Looking for local repeater check-ins. Local check-ins come now for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. See, it's like summertime. I don't know. Nobody's around. We got 3 repeaters covering this, and nobody's around. Oh, the air show's today. Magic Valley Air Show. So there might be a lot of people going to that. All right, let's move on to Wires X. Wires X check-ins. Come now.
W6CJ Wires X node covering Northeast LA and Pasadena. Comments for today's discussion when appropriate.
All right, Jay, good morning and welcome to the net. Thanks for joining. Do you have any traffic for before the discussion?
No traffic. I'm just going to contribute an observation on prepping when that comes up on the radio side.
All right, fantastic. Look forward to hearing from you then. I saw KB7SQS pop up on the screen there. Anybody on one of the KB7SQS repeaters or the YSF? All right, looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. We'll just open it up. Anybody, anywhere.
Kilo Foxtrot 0 Oscar Hotel Uniform 6 Sean for leaving Minnesota. Checking in.
All right, Sean. Good morning. And whoop, hang on. I don't think I have it. All right, looks like we have Sean in Minnesota, and we have N7 RBP Bob in Oregon. We'll go to Sean first, KF0OHU. Thanks for checking in. Any traffic?
No traffic today. Interested in the topic. I know one thing I'm looking into for this topic is getting into gardening, being in the cities and having a small property and covered in shade. It's not too fun for me, but thoughts on what other people might have on that topic.
All right, sounds good, and can't wait to hear what you got to say. Let's see, Bob in Medford. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bob. No traffic here. Just looking forward to the topic of the day, and like I say, we show up every week, so we're a participant. And 7 RVP.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bob. Thanks for always being there. And looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now. All right, hearing none at this time. We'll move into our sit rep section. Guys, we do the sit rep section as a practice. I'm basically taking a few news stories from ground news is what I basically use because it kind of shows where it's coming from. I really enjoy that ground news called ground.news. And for today, anyway, the whole news thing right now is just practice. That's what this whole net is all about. If we move into a real serious emergency, a national emergency, or even some regional emergencies, we could start talking about actual actual message passing or information passing as we need to. As of right now, I'm using these news stories as practice, and I encourage you guys to do the same because that's what this whole thing is. It's just training exercise. Anyway, number one, on Saturday, Tropical Storm Erin rapidly intensified into a Category 4 hurricane, peaking at that strength in the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. Let it drop. Haven't heard any of our Florida participants today, so I don't know if any of them are listening or anybody has anything to add about the possible hurricanes hitting the East Coast. I know in about a month, Jeff will be there, and he'll be able to give us firsthand 2 months. Ah, okay.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Ah. Okay. In other news, in California, Governor Gavin Newsom, he announced a November 4th, 2025 special election to ask voters about suspending the Independent Redistricting Commission for the next 3 elections. If approved by the voters in the special election this November, California could nearly erase all Republican House members in the nation's most populous state. The Democrat plan is to win the party 48 of its 52 House seats, up from 43 currently. Out of San Francisco, this was from August 14th of this year. Today, Firearms Policy Coalition, the FPC, announced that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has issued its mandate in FPC's victory over California's one gun per month gun ban law, making it the first time the circuit has issued a final judgment striking down a law as unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. And it was absolutely surprising. The state of California, Rob Bonta, did not appeal to the en banc Ninth Circuit panel. Big win for us. In more Second Amendment news, Duncan V. Bonta, the California magazine ban has just cleared a major hurdle on its way to the Supreme Court. Justice Kagan issued an extension for writ of certiorari on May 30th of this year, extending it twice until August 17th, which is tomorrow. We should expect that to be conferenced as soon as Monday. This is unique in that this case has been absolutely settled by the Ninth Circuit, and there's no interlocutory decrees or anything. It is 100% a settled case as far as the Ninth is concerned. So possibly, hopefully, looking forward to seeing this hit the Supreme Court for this year or maybe next year. And finally, here in Idaho, Caldwell, Idaho, Caldwell's pro rodeo, decided to go gun free this year. It's drawing the ire of many Idaho gun owners, including Canyon County Sheriff Kirian Donahue and several state politicians. It sparked a huge debate here in Idaho with 2A groups like the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance and the city of Caldwell. So maybe we'll get a new appeal, possibly to the Ninth Circuit or the Supreme Court. This had gone to the Idaho Supreme Court a couple of years ago about having private entities that rent out public spaces, making those gun-free zones. Because here in Idaho, all public spaces must be open to Second Amendment practicing people. All right. This is K6UDA for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Do we have any other sit reps from anybody else in the gallery? Do we have any last minute check-ins? Anybody want to check in?
Cute, November 6, Echo Victor, Quebec, Mark in Patterson, California.
Good morning, Mark in Patterson. Oh, hang on here. I don't have it, do I? Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, good morning, Mark. Do you have any traffic for the net? All right, and I see KK7ELZ in there. Did you want to check in, and do you have any traffic?
Just checking in. No traffic for the net. Thanks for being there and doing it. Have a great rest of your Saturday. KK7 ELZ clear.
All right, real good. Hey, just for giggles there, can we get your first name and where you're at?
First name is Rick, and I am located in Spokane.
Very, very cool, Rick. Thanks for joining us here on the net. Any other check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net come now?
Kilo Oscar 4 Oscar Mike Hotel Patty in Virginia Beach.
Good morning, and thanks for joining. Um, any word or any sit reps from you? Any word on hurricanes or anything uh, about to hit you guys?
Well, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Bob, thanks for hosting the net as always. It's been a while since I've called in. Apologies for that. I try to listen in when I can, but the cards just weren't there here in the last few months. As far as situation on the East Coast here in my area, nothing really to report. We're just watching that hurricane that's coming up there from the Caribbean, I guess. It doesn't look like that it's gonna really play any havoc in this area if it keeps farther to the east. But you never know. You know, those things they have a mind of their own, and sometimes they go where the weather guessers don't predict. So we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see what happens. That's about it for me. 73 is all, and hope everybody has a good rest of the weekend. KO4 OMH back to net control.
All right. Hey, thanks for checking in. Thanks for the info there. And that's exactly what this whole net is all about. It's keeping each other informed and keeping ourselves in practice for when we actually need these radios to work. Let's see. Any more check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and end the radio portion of the net, and we're going to pick up on Rumble. You could go to rumble.com, just type into the search bar Idaho Preparedness Channel, and you could pick it right there. You could just click on it, and you could join us for the rest of this discussion. This is going to be a really cool discussion. We're talking about staying motivated over the long term in prepping, and why you got in, uh, what are you doing, how long, kind of for long term people, how long have you been doing it? What's your level of commitment and how to stay motivated? You're all welcome to chime in on the radio if you want. And I'm putting up a phone number here. You can also call in for those who want to remain anonymous and talk about stuff. You could use the call-in number. We'll be putting that up on the screen during the rest of the show here. With that, I am going to say 7-3, and I'm going to release all of the nodes and repeaters back to their normal operation. This is Bob, K6UDA, 7-3 all. Okay.
Comment, W6CJ.
Yeah, Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, before you release, I won't participate in the non-radio side, so just let me give a quickie on my prep experience. If that's all right, I'll just take a couple minutes and be done with you.
Absolutely, my friend, and hopefully you get to hang around and maybe call in later once we get some of these subjects going, because we got some really interesting things going today. Yeah, the floor is yours, my friend. Go ahead and take it.
Okay, thanks, Bob and group. Okay, well, I just wanted to talk about what got me into prepping. I'm an old guy, so I had a lot of different things to motivate me. I'm just going to describe a couple of those motivations here. Uh, as a little kid growing up in LA, we had a lot of, this was the Cold War era, so we had duck and cover and a lot of talk about nuclear attacks. And as a ADD kid with a vivid imagination and a technical mind, I started getting dialed into this stuff. Those noisy air raid sirens were tested every Friday morning at 10 o'clock, and they didn't stop doing that until 1985. So that motivated me. Another thing that motivated me was a ex-girlfriend a long time ago. And like many leftists of her type, she declared that my ham radios, were fascist and paramilitary. As you know, when a leftist doesn't understand something, which is quite often, they'll tell you it's fascist. So that got me motivated. If the leftists don't like something I was doing, I better check it out further. Drop it. Of course, being in LA and Southern California, we had our fair share of quakes, riots, and being in a big blue city, I was right on the edge of the abyss with woke, replacement, and DEI. And those things motivated me a lot to prepping. Also, LA is diverse, and I've worked in places and spoke with coworkers who escaped from communist or Islamic countries. And if you think fascism is bad, communism and radical Islam are 100 times worse. And finally, as I started getting older, my household had different dietary needs, different health needs. So we started getting really into the food. And we killed two birds with one stone in our shopping. Instead of going shopping once, twice a day and getting out a extra can or carton of something, we started planning ahead, going on bigger shopping trips a lot less often. And when we did shop, we'd stock up on a lot of goodies that would last for a long, long time. And we started buying top-notch foods. We tried to stay away from cheap stuff and buy organic and preservative-free when we could. So that spans my 50 years of prepping experience. That's all I have. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right, Jay, thank you for that. Looks like we got a couple other call signs jumped in there. KQ6OT on the FT5. Do you have something to add? All right, anybody from KB7SQS? Do you guys have? Does anybody have something? It appears 17 people looking at this right now. Let's see here. Okay. Guess not. All right, K6UDA, back to the live portion of the net. All right. Looks like we're about done with that screen. And welcome to you guys and us over here on our side. I am gonna try to jump over here. I want to pull up picture in picture the live. How come I can't get repost, promote? I'm trying to get my nope, not that one. Oh crap. All right, no, I'm trying to get X up so I can see see any comments in there. And it looks like, I don't know. It just ain't gonna play. Just ain't playing nice today. X is not playing. All right. Let's just go back over here. Hey, welcome back to the show. That's the cost of live streaming in this day and age, is sometimes things don't work 100%. Let's see. So today, prepping motivation over the long term. Staying motivated as a prepper over the long term can be challenging, especially when immediate threats aren't apparent. Here are some practical ways to maintain focus and commitment based on insights from prepping communities and resources. So, number one, you want to set clear and achievable goals. You want to break your goals into manageable steps, like maybe working on a 30-day food supply when you're first starting out, or maybe a 1-month food supply as you get into it. Learning one new skill per month, i.e., first aid, gardening. Small wins keep your momentum going. For example, aim to store 10 gallons of water a month rather than 100 gallons all at once. Focus on your purpose. Remind yourself of why you're prepping, whether it's protecting your family, achieving self-reliance, or being ready for natural disasters. Write down your whys and revisit it during low motivation periods. 2023 survey by the National Prepper Association found 68% of preppers cite family safety as their primary motivator. Jeff,
Yes, sir.
you want to take the next couple? We're going to move
Yeah.
through these real quick, and then we're going to get to the real meat of the discussion.
So next on the list is build a community. Connect with like-minded preppers through local groups, online forums, or X communities like X Prepper Life or hashtag Prepper Life, excuse me. Sharing tips, bartering supplies, or practicing skills together fosters accountability. For instance, join a local ham radio club, and that can double as a skill building and networking. I
Yep.
wish I had one close to me. I don't have one up here.
You probably do in Florida.
Yeah, there's lots in Florida, and I'm looking forward to. I'm already members of a couple of them.
Nice.
Rotate and use supplies. Incorporate your preps into your daily life. Avoid feeling like resources are wasted. Cook your meals with your stored food. Practice using your emergency gear. Camp with your bug out bag. This will keep your supplies fresh and reinforces their utility, makes prepping feel practical rather than theoretical.
Yep.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Learn continuously. Stay engaged by acquiring new skills like foraging, water purification, or reloading ammo. Perform online platforms like YouTube, X Posts, here on Rumble. Talk to experts like at Survivalist HQ. Offer tutorials. 2024 study showed preppers who regularly learn new skills report 40% higher motivation levels. I don't know how they track that, but obviously they do. Track your progress visually. Create a checklist or a chart to check milestones like food storage or skills mastered. Apps like Prepper Log. Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Or a simple spreadsheet can help. See tangible progress boosts in morale.
Simulate scenarios. Conduct drills like a 24-hour power outage simulation, which you were going to do. Did you ever do?
I haven't actually
You
done
kind of
it.
can't do it anymore. You don't have
'Cause
such a
I'm-
thing as power outage at your house.
I don't.
It's
Now
not fair.
we're off grid. I've solved that problem.
Doing this will test your readiness, highlight gaps, make prepping feel real. A 2022 FEMA report noted that hands-on practice increases prepper confidence by 35%. Celebrate milestones. Reward yourself for hitting targets like completing a first aid course or reaching 6 months of food storage. Treat yourself to gear upgrades or a favorite meal. Positive reinforcement builds these habits.
Stay informed, not overwhelmed. Follow news or X posts for potential risks, i.e., weather patterns, economic trends, but limit your exposure to avoid burnout. That's something I should probably do. Set weekly 30-minute threat assessment times to stay updated without spiraling into doom scrolling. Involve family or friends. Make prepping a group effort. Teach kids basic survival skills. Involve your partner in your planning. Shared responsibility reduces the mental load and keeps everyone invested. For example, turn fire starting practice into a family camping activity.
Maintain balance. Avoid letting prepping consume your life. Schedule downtime for hobbies or relaxation to prevent fatigue. The 2025 Prepper Forum thread on X emphasized that balanced preppers are 50% less likely to quit than those who obsess. Reassess and adapt. Periodically, review your preps to align with current needs or risks. An example, new climate patterns or local threats. Updating plans keeps them relevant and engaging. For instance, if you move to a flood-prone area, shift your focus to waterproof storage. By integrating these strategies, preppers can stay motivated without feeling overwhelmed. The key is to make prepping a sustainable part of life, not a race to an endpoint. If you want, search X and look for specific prepper tips or analyze a profile for tailored advice.
Nice. Okay, now that we've like gone through the theoretical part of this, and actually there was a couple of interesting tidbits in there. I don't know where they get their numbers, but now we get to do the actual cool discussion. So Jeff, you came up with this list, so why don't you start us off?
I was just curious to you and to the people that are watching that feel like posted in the comments, you know, what caused you to start prepping? Was it an event, a time in life, a specific feeling that you had?
For me personally, I can trace it back to food buckets because when we put together food buckets here, we date them. We date everything, and it's got a current or the date packed on there. And the earliest that we have are, like rice, beans, sugar, salt, and those were dated 2006. And kind of looking back at 2006, there was a big backlash over the Hurricane Katrina response and the lack of response. I remember a friend of mine who worked for CHP at the time, California Highway Patrol. He got sent over to Louisiana or to New Orleans, and I saw him on TV taking a gun out of some like 80-year-old woman's hands and leaving her completely defenseless because she wouldn't leave her house. And when I talked to him, I was like, dude, that is the most freaking tyrannical thing I have ever seen. And I can't believe you did that. And his response was, our orders were to, to everything in this area had to be disarmed. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So there was that. And that really made me start losing faith in our system and how tyrannical our government could become, so quickly. There was the Iraq War was going on. The 9/11 had happened just a couple of years before. And I was really beginning to question the Patriot Act. When that first got introduced, the Patriot Act, I was all in favor of it. I thought, oh, this is going to help keep us safe and everything. But then I noticed little by little, they were using that against the people, and they still do to this day. What about you?
For me, I can't really pinpoint the year, but it was definitely like 10, 15 years ago. We developed or sustained a lot of storms here in Michigan. And it was back then we had really harsh winters. We don't have as harsh of winters anymore. But we were having storms in the summer, storms in the winter. You'd lose power for sometimes 3, 4, 5 days in a row. And I realized that we needed to be a little more prepared and stockpiled with food and water, things like that. And so we kind of started out mild and just having some excess around the house and making sure we had the generator, making sure we had the fuel for the generator, and we had enough that it could last for up to a week, since they only run like 8 hours on a tank of gas and things like that. And didn't even realize that I would be considered what somebody would call a prepper at that point.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah. And then the next question I have out there, let's see, we got K Falls Bob in the comments said that fear of vulnerable grid down caused him to start prepping. So good reason. Same as me, grid down for power outages from storms, grid down because you have bigger problems. Load Smart says that he lives in a big city, approximately 1 million residents. No, thank you. I belong to the CERT program, a program where we receive FEMA training. They're constantly telling us not enough first responders to attend to everyone. And
right.
We hear that everywhere.
Right.
What were some of the things that you started doing first, which you kind of already answered, before you even really knew you were a prepper?
What was I doing? Well, okay. Here's the typical, if you remember when Joe Biden was running for president, he was talking about your typical American couple. You've got a cop and a grocery store manager. And that was exactly me. I was a cop. My wife was a grocery store manager. And she really clued me in on, hey, we've got 3 days worth of stuff in the store. Every store has, under normal circumstances, only 3 days worth of supplies in here. And if the shipment is delayed by a day, a week, the store runs out under normal circumstances. And we kept watching all these hurricanes, Hurricane Katrina, the store shelves getting completely freaking emptied. And we decided, hey, let's start having a little bit of food on hand in case that happens. I started buying some of the Mountain House stuff and MREs and crap like that. Just a few of them. I just wanted to keep my family fed. Well, I had 3 teenagers at home at the time. And then very soon after 3 teenagers, I had my first grandson. Well, I still had 3 teenagers.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden, my focus started shifting on I got to be able to feed my family through whatever.
Right. Right. And with me, it was stockpiling, the water and the food basics. Um, we decided that wanted to have a few weeks worth of food. We were young and dumb, and the world is safe, and the U.S. is awesome, and we're the best country out there, and we don't ever have anything to worry about here. And then we realized, oh crap, the power's been out for 4 days, and we're out of groceries. And the grocery store is out too because a tornado had gone through town. We didn't get hit, but the town got hit, and you'd have to drive an hour and a half to go get groceries. That's not common in Michigan. Back in those days, we lived down in the Ann Arbor area. There's cities everywhere. We had power, and then going on to your statement about the wife in the grocery store and 3 days worth of food. 34 years ago, I worked at a bank, and that's when I learned that the banks don't keep a whole lot of money in their vaults. That those go to a central bank. So at any given point in time, the typical bank only has like 2 to 3 days worth of money in their vault, and that's why banks limit you to large withdrawals without having a schedule in advance, so they can make sure that they have the cash on hand. And that made me think, probably need to be a little more cautious about how much money I have. Debit cards weren't a thing back then. They were just starting to roll out debit cards. It was all, drive-through cash transactions at the bank and whatnot. And if you needed your money and you didn't have your money, you better hope you had a credit card that had a decent limit on it. So, let's see. Gary003 in the comments. Camping, it's kind of like a prep test. However, it was getting T1D that made me start thinking long term. Then, being just outside of Minneapolis, I watched my home city burn. Yeah?
Yeah. To me, it's kind of like we're living it. We're living right now the reason that a lot of us started prepping, or that we realized we were.
Right. Which goes into my next comment. When did you get serious and realize you were a prepper?
For me, it was probably around 2009, 2010, because I look back again at, pictures that I've got of me and my buddies training, and our food, the markings on the food that we have, or that we had, started really ramping up about 2010. And I was talking to my best friend, Brian, who's still out in communist California. And we were talking, and we were both always into guns. We were both very heavily into Second Amendment stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on in California. There was a lot of gun control, magazine bans, the roster hit. There was AR bans. I was able to get around a lot of it because I was a cop. And so that was kind of our way of getting around some of that stuff. But we used that time to really start stockpiling 2A tools. But Brian and I started talking about all this stuff that was happening under Obama, because he had become president. And now, in addition to everything that they were doing to the, with the Patriot Act, they were now targeting like the Tea Party. The IRS was being weaponized. So we realized that the government was not our friends. They were not on our side. And we started really getting serious about prepping. And that's when I came to full realization that, you know what, we're just preppers. We believe in
Right.
this.
We're not faking it no more. We're really it.
Yeah.
KK7 RDO says he learned about it back in the 80s when he was an Army Scout, and that's where he got interested in prepping.
Okay.
And Gary003 said he realized he was a prepper when his kids started calling him one. And that kind of reminds me a little bit about the Daddy Doomsday Binder story, but
yes, Daddy Doomsday. That was
and then Sean goes on to say to add to my, or sorry, Shannon, excuse me, to add to my previous statement, I also do reloading since I was about 16 years old, so almost 40 years now. So that's cool.
which is very, that's so interesting because so many people have things that other ancillary hobbies or activities that they do that tie into prepping, reloading, for instance, that they did before, but it really ties into their whole prepping journey. And I got licensed for ham radio in 2011. So right there, and I got licensed in ham radio for the prepping aspect. We wanted bigger and better radios. We wanted, we wanted to be able to contact each other, halfway across our little town, and we were in a mountain town. And so I got my license, then Brian got his license, and a couple of our other friends, they got licensed. And I just got bit by the ham radio bug along the way. So
I said, yes, you did.
Yes, I did. And I just started learning, and I couldn't learn enough about it. It was just crazy. And there was every time I learned something new about ham radio, there was more to learn. But it tied right into this. And I actually then, everybody in my group out in California decided, well, you're the comms guy. And so they all kind of started relying on me instead of becoming experts themselves. And that's kind of where I would say the wrong turn in my own personal life. Medical is my weak, I would say that's my absolute weak point. I've done the first responder stuff. I've done all that. I've done all the CPR and everything because I had to for my job. But my next door neighbor was an emergency room doctor. My buddy Brian was a firefighter and a paramedic. So they had the medical stuff kind of dialed, and I didn't worry about it. Just like I had the radio stuff, I guess, dialed, or they said I had it dialed. And so they didn't worry about it.
Right. And with me, I didn't realize it until right now, like right this very second, when I was even typing this list up. I guess my parents were kind of preppers, at least my mom. And I didn't even realize it till right now because when I grew up on a little small hobby farm, and my dad always had horses, but he had a heart attack at a young age, much like me. It's in the genes. And after his heart attack, he didn't want to give up beef, so he started raising beefalo. It's lower in fat, lower in cholesterol than average, just regular Angus cow. And we had 2 to 3, sometimes 4 big, huge chest freezers in the basement. And we always had a whole cow or 3 in the freezer at all times. And we always had, my mom was real big into canning, and we had a root cellar in our basement that had probably 2 or 300 canning jars of, everything from diced and sliced tomatoes to green beans and canned corn and all kinds of stuff that mom grew in the garden. So, I mean, I guess I kind of grew up around it and didn't even realize it until just now, which is kind of funny. And
But it actually, that wasn't prepping. That was like the old school way in the country of living.
but it's still prepping.
It
in a
is
sense.
prepping, but it's not the traditional prepper that you and I that we think about or
Sure.
that we picture. That's amazing because out when we were in California, that philosophy of canning stuff, where we didn't have much to can and we didn't have any knowledge about it, neither one, my wife or I. But we were, collecting a lot of foods, a lot of dried goods. But growing up, that was never a concern, and nobody had ever heard of a prepper in California. That was like crazy people stuff. So you didn't talk about it. And then we moved here, and this is honest to God, guys. That's just what we do when we considered ourselves preppers. That is normal life here. It's
Right.
you
Kinda the
move
same in
to a different
Utah.
place. Yeah. You move
Yeah.
to a different place and it's a completely different mindset.
Yep. And then when I got married, we moved in. My parents gave us 7.5 acres next door to them, and we immediately got the chest freezer and started filling it full of beef and stuff like that. So we were doing a little bit of that prepping stuff without realizing we were prepping. We were just getting food cheap because we were buying it in bulk, And
Mhm.
I didn't really get serious about prepping and didn't even really consider myself a prepper until late fall 2023 when you started the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. And I'm dead serious. I watched you. I watched a video. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but Bob and I didn't know each other until, and like around Thanksgiving time, 2023, when Bob started the Preparedness Net on YouTube. And I was always a subscriber and watched all of the ham radio videos, but we never interacted. I never commented on the videos. We never had any correspondence. And then one day I log in to see the new video, and it wasn't nothing to do with ham radios. It was about prepping and stockpiling and everything else. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. And then I couldn't wait for the next one. And I was like, man, I wish Bob would post every day. And I started commenting on the videos. That's when, and my wife got involved as well. And we started chatting back and forth through comments. And then Bob fired off his email address and we started emailing back and forth. And I'm trying to offer up ideas for different show topics and whatnot. And I just became like almost obsessive compulsive and couldn't get enough of the prepping stuff. I never even searched for a prepping video on YouTube until you started doing this show.
Really?
And yes. So the bulk of our preps really happened because of you and because of this show. And I just had this insatiable urge to get involved with you and this show. And because of it, in the last 2 years, we have exponentially increased our plans and preps. And as you know, I mean, the first year that you did it, we were in Arizona when you started this.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that all of my stuff was back here at home. And I'm like, oh shit, if something goes south while we're here, we walked away from all those preps. We didn't even know they were preps. And now we got to have them. And we couldn't wait to get home. And so we kind of got a little obsessive, and it's all your fault. So I'd say, when I realized that I was a prepper was really in 2023 when this show started. And I couldn't wait to get involved with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And look at you now.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about doing a podcast of my own.
You're like the Patriot nurse.
Right, right. Um, what what was your first focus in the beginning? This is a little bit of a redundant question. For me, it was water. It was water and food because we had the long power outages and stuff. So that's what we were focusing on was water and food without realizing we were prepping. Cases and cases of water.
we weren't we weren't thinking about water very much, because we were on a well, and I always said, well, we're on a well. We're not gonna run out of water. We're not on city water. We're not on the sewer system. Um, we just had electricity and propane because we're out in the country. My wife, she was concerned about the food because she knew about the supply chain. She knew firsthand what the supply chain was like. And we saw things happening. And she said, we're going to start stocking up on some food because I'm going to feed my kids no matter what. And so that was the start of it. And we really didn't realize we were prepping at all. Um, it was just, okay, there could be an emergency. There could be a huge earthquake because we had both lived
Sure.
through the 1989 big earthquake in California. And, when half of San Francisco crumbled to the ground.
That was the World Series one, right?
That was the
Happened during
World
the World
Series one.
Series. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we had lived through that. We had just seen, like I said, Katrina happen. And we saw how people were treated, and that people were saying, they put us in the dome, and there was no food, no water, nowhere to sleep, no nothing. It was horrible. It was like, and then they locked them in. So you didn't want to rely on the government to take care of you. Um, that was all bad. Um, but our first real foray when Brian and I started comparing notes, that was, we were just terrified of an EMP. That was our big thing. And so I always figured the very worst possible thing that could happen would be an EMP. And so everything that we did was centered around prepping for an EMP.
So that's the beginning. Now we've progressed several years into it. For me, only 2 years. For you, many.
Hang
But
on.
what's
Gary,
yes,
003. I think if
yes.
you have an underground bunker, you may be a prepper.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Although funny story, I helped build an underground house. Back, golly, that would have been 1986 or 7. There was a Detroit Lion football player that bought land out near my folks' house and decided to build this house, and he needed somebody to work the land. And he saw that my dad had a tractor and plow, and he started stopping by and just making small talk with my dad. We had no idea this guy was a professional football player. And made small talk with my dad and says, "Hey, I'd like you to come work up the ground." And dad goes over and plows it up. And all of a sudden he comes back. He goes, "Hey, could you come over and plow up my yard again?" And every time my dad would go there, more of the yard was gone. And it turned out this guy was having him loosen the earth so he could get it out easier with like a plow on a tractor, like a bucket, and he ended up building an underground home and had a grass roof. And I don't think he was a prepper. It was built like a mansion on the inside. It was pretty cool. But I never got to go in it after he moved in, and that was my experience with the underground home. But if I could live the perfect life, I want his house, and it still exists. It's still out there today. It's got a lot of weeds on the roof. I hope the inside doesn't look as bad as the outside, but it's still there.
Well, that might be on purpose.
Right?
You know, you let the
Absolutely.
weeds
Oh yeah,
grow,
you
it
can.
looks like a field.
If you didn't know it was there, it's just a little mound of dirt. It's. I mean, standing there, if you're standing on flat ground, the mound of dirt that the house is under is no more than like 2 feet tall. It's not even up to your
Oh,
waist. So if you didn't know it was there, you'd never know that there's a house in that mound of dirt. It's pretty cool. It was really
oh,
neat, and
that's
it's so before its time because it was in the late '80s.
oh, how
You know,
cool.
yeah. So that was your starting point. Um, Fast forward to today. What's more important to you now in the prepping journey? For me, it's safety and security, both physical and financial. You know, I feel like we're kind of got a good heads up on the food and the water now, and but I was always low on the Second Amendment items, and I was always low on having that cash stockpile or gold or silver because of my experience at the bank. It just took me
Hmm.
a lot of years to get a grown up big boy job where I had a little bit of disposable money where I could start, waffling that stuff away in the mattress and the walls and wherever else you hide that type of thing. But what's more important to you now than your planning for the grocery shortage?
Infrastructure now. Now because I am at my bug out location. When we were in California, everything was about how do we bug out. And Brian and I mean, we spent hours upon hours and days making plans. He had a dump truck and we had plans to armor the top of it and be able to throw his stuff in there and my stuff, and we make our way up to his a secret bug out location that he had in California that was well into the wilderness, and we had built an infrastructure there, hidden infrastructure, but no housing. Um, so everything was about bugging out and building an infrastructure kind of once we got there. Fast forward to today, um, you know, I knew I had to get the hell out of California. Uh, and when we settled here, I was like, I'm home. This is this is my bug out location. And now, I'm over 60 years old. Things are different. We're talking, a 20-year span. So for me, it was about building everything into an infrastructure, building sustainability here. Um, Now I've got my big solar and battery project done. So I've got power. I've got fuel for the winter that I keep here. Um, my next big thing that I want to do is now a root cellar. I am I have been walking around and trying to figure out where would I put a root cellar. I think that kind of makes the entire infrastructure that I've built. There's a couple little things, LPOP positions. We got very heavily into the tactical side back in California. We were very heavy into tactics, and I taught some of the tactics. When you get to a certain point and you start going, okay, what else is there? Well, night vision came into the picture, and so everybody's got NVGs and I know that that's a very uncommon thing in the prepper community, just because it's so expensive. Um, RDO, I've come to terms with it. If a nuke is dropped, I won't last very long anyway. I live with a an ostomy bag, open wound, no way to prep for that. Yeah, I mean, here's what I've come to realize living here in southern Idaho. We're part of the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera. I mean, like literally, it's called the um, Craters of the Moon, which is a huge lava dump. It's 60 miles from me. So, and there's traces of lava everywhere around here. Everything's built on lava.
So you don't really have a good chance.
No, but
Might as well be a nuke for you.
exactly, if that goes off, and so we're sitting here watching. Hell, let me go back to my geochron here, and on my geochron over here, I can look at all the earthquakes and volcanoes that are going on. Really, really cool. But listening to all the news about all this, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous, but I also live with the knowledge of if the super volcano goes off again, I won't even know it.
Right.
We won't even know it.
Right.
We won't have a lingering death like so many others.
RDO recommends a root cellar under your driveway deep. K Falls Bob requests that you give us a tour of your solar system sometime.
I might do that.
That wouldn't be a bad video.
That might be a good video.
Yours is more elaborate than most videos that I've seen on YouTube, as far as or Rumble, for people showing off their solar. Most people don't have the type of kilowatts and watt hours that you have.
And I'm not done. I'm not done with it. My
Wow.
goal now is to add to my battery system every other year. I want to add a battery stack, and each stack is 5,000 kW.
And Gary asks, how far underground does a root cellar need to be? Just below the frost line? And my answer to that is yes. I believe that is what you would want. You'd want it to be below the frost line so that if you put like canning jars of things in there, they wouldn't freeze and explode.
Yeah.
It maintains a constant
Honestly,
temperature that way.
honestly, to be able to walk in to a root cellar and be able to stand up, you're at least talking 8 to 10 feet underground, because then you got to build a roof and you got to cover it and you got to figure out. And that's a thing that I've seen here that they used to build all the time, were these root cellars with they would have a wood frame over the top of it, and then they would cover it in earth, and it would just become like like your neighbor's house. It would just become part of the earth. And there you got a room underground. And I have no idea how to build one. I'm still. And you know what, guys? I posted that live talk in. If any of you guys want to call in, totally anonymous, you don't have to say who you are. I won't even ask. But if you've got, I know you guys have some great input into this. And it just, how do we stay motivated? You just realized you were a prepper. Yeah,
it's all
just
your
a couple
fault. And I
years
blame
ago.
you.
Yeah. Well, you just realized it. I realized it close to 20 years ago is when I really realized it, 10, 15 years ago. And I've come to terms with it, but it was such a big part of my life. And we went so hard and so heavy on the food aspect and the tactical aspect of learning the ways of the Jedi,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
I feel fairly comfortable with those skills, with my skill set. Where I'm sorely lacking is medical, number one. The money thing. We've got a little bit of cash. I have a different philosophy about cash. If they have like the big crunch, if you've watched or read Patriots, guys, if
Oh
you're
yeah.
thinking about if you haven't read Patriots, that is a textbook disguised as a novel. You just have to, must read.
Which I never read until you started the preparedness net, and you had a show where you talked about books and what books were good, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that book, and then I was really hooked. So it's
Yeah.
still all your fault.
Yeah. Oh, the Mormons. That's okay. So Brian's wife is a Mormon. So, I mean, his family they're Mormons. And that's where my wife learned how to can and learned how to start doing all that stuff from Brian's wife. So, and we're not Mormons, but the Mormons love us.
Yeah. My best friend in school was a Mormon, and that's the big thing with them is it's kind of it's not kind of it is it's a rule that they must have a minimum of 1 year's worth of food stockpiled and squirreled away for emergencies.
I'll tell you,
if you don't
for
take
all
anything back, that's the one thing to take from that. That's not a bad thing.
For all the kind of crazy stuff that they believe in, the magic underwear and everything, they've got it. They really got their shit together when it comes to preparedness. And I don't even know what they're preparing for. Probably the same thing we are. I don't know. But it depends upon what your extinction level event is in your mind. The financial stuff. My theory is you keep enough money, enough cash to get you the last minute supplies within a week, say 1 week of a huge collapse. Because after a week, your cash is worth nothing. Nobody wants it. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
Now you need to barter.
Right. Notice when I brought that up, I brought up gold and silver as well. I agree. I think greenback paper money isn't worth shit.
You keep the silver as tangible money. I would say my opinion, and because, I don't have any experience with a collapse, but in the first month or so of a collapse, of a complete societal breakdown, whether it's a regional thing, a Bosnia thing. There was a guy in Bosnia, and I read his book, and he talked about how shitty it was in his neighborhood, just trying to get to like a open air market. But and now I just went away. But after that first week or so, for the first month or maybe 2 months, everything is going to be a barter system. It's like, I need eggs, or I need bread, or I need flour, and you have medicine or bullets or something that I need. And so we're kind of in that mindset. So I've got enough silver, so when things start coming back, you've got silver to spend. Gold, and I got hardly any gold. But that, to me, that's where you keep your wealth. So you could buy a car, or, something big, like that. The silver you could break up, and it's small enough in small enough fractions, like junk silver, that you could buy a loaf of bread with it, or you could buy groceries or a tank of gas or whatever in silver.
Yep. So in our conversation last night, I stole my next one from you because you actually brought it up, but I stole it and put it in this list. So what do you feel is your I'm good point? As in, you have enough. There's no reason to continue. You're comfortable. What do you feel is your I'm good point?
All right.
I don't think there is one.
I don't think there really is one. The skills are perishable. If you don't use them, you'll lose them. Pure and simple. So, as far as training, that's an ongoing thing. Um, as I age, as I get older and older, and I find my physical strength is less and less, I have to rely more and more on this. That's the most dangerous weapon I own. And I have to adjust how I train, what I train for. I'm not putting a 60-pound LARP bag on my back and hiking up 5-mile hills. Hell, I'm not doing that without any bag on. Oh, my knees are shot. My back is shot. I know. But I can, that finger works really, really well. Still works well. My eyesight is still good enough that I can hit a target at 800 meters.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to continue forever. You know, you're good and you're done.
Right.
But I think that I guess maybe I should have worded that a little different, like where you feel like you've achieved something or you were successful. To me, it's like having that year or two worth of food built up where I can now be self-sustaining and replace it via a garden, livestock that we've raised, hunting. Um, that might get me to lift off the accelerator a little bit and not be so gung ho and trying to dump every last nickel that I have available into prepping because I've got a stockpile and I've created self sufficiency for the most part, being able to try to have the ability to try to replace everything without needing to rely on a grocery store. Sure, we'll have limitations on things like salt and pepper and normal condiments, but at least you can have the vegetables from the garden, the fruits from the trees, the meat from the woods, things like that. I feel like that's kind of like the limitation. Okay, I'm a successful prepper now.
Yeah. For me, it's been in such stages. And I don't feel like I'm done. I use from my preps a little bit. We've laid off on the mountain house and the MREs. We've got a bunch, and we don't, it's not something you're going to use on a daily basis. So I've laid off on that stuff. We do go through, or we do stock quite a bit of flour, sugar, salt, grains, and legumes, but we use it every year. We're using a bunch, so we're taking from our stock. As far as like 2A stuff, I'm not going to say a bunch, but I buy ammunition on a regular basis. But I go out and I train on a regular basis. And I'll train with several hundred to 1,000 rounds in a day of training. And I don't worry about it. I remember after what was the school shooting? What the in Connecticut or something? There was some elementary school shooting, and ammo became almost impossible to get. And it did it again during COVID. There was a huge run on ammo. Everybody just, the prices went sky high. It was freaking nuts. My buddy Brian and I, we didn't sweat it. We didn't panic buy. We didn't even, at that point, we didn't even buy anything. We just said, okay, we're going to use what we have a little more judiciously. Because we had for years stockpiled. And I continue to do that to this day. Other little things. Well, you get to a point, or I got to a point where now you start looking at things like, okay, how do I defend myself at night? Because that's when the attack is going to happen, is at night. So you get yourself some night vision, a good pair of night vision goggles. And you start training with that stuff. You start walking around. I want to do a show on night vision, how to shop for it, where to get it, how to get it, what to look for, the different types, all that good stuff. Prices. It ain't cheap. That's one of those things where you buy night vision once you've established your baseline of food, water, ammunition, other 2A tools, compasses, your bug out bag, if that's, part of your deal. And, you go halfway across the country for a good portion of the year. You're the perfect candidate. You're a major bug out guy. You're kind of bugging out from Michigan, Illinois. You're kind of bugging out every year for winter.
Right.
So you got a lot of practice doing it. But how do you protect yourself at night?
Don't have a plan for that.
Against
Yep.
bad guys. So, and in your position, I would say you're a prime candidate maybe to invest. And it is an investment.
Next thing on my list. We only got 4 of these left, guys. Just trying to get through them. What items are you most nervous about not having enough of? And I want to go first on this one. And this
Okay.
kind of goes into what RDO was talking about a few minutes ago. The thing that I'm most nervous about not having enough of is meds. I'm not a healthy person. I have a cardiac problem. I have diabetes. There are certain meds that I take that I could probably not take and survive. There are some meds that I probably will not survive if I stop taking them. And that's the biggest fear that I have is, amen, Gary, insulin. I
Yeah.
don't take insulin. Luckily, I don't take insulin, but I do take metformin. I do take Ozempic or Jardiance. And the problem is even with the companies that offer the year supply of meds like Chase and all the others that you can do the mail order, get a year's supply, meds only keep for so long. And typically, 1 year is about their max. You probably could use them for up to 2 years, but they lose, they half-life and things like that, and they're not as potent. So, when RDO was talking about his situation with the open wound and the ostomy, I agree, and that's a scary thing. And for me, it's meds, and there's no solution to it other than to continue working on my health and trying to continue losing the weight and possibly getting off the diabetes meds and the blood pressure meds, and then I only have to worry a little bit, about the cholesterol meds and things like that because it's in my genes. there's no diet that I can go on. We've tried them all, and we've tried them for a long time. We're not just like a few weeks and gave up. There's no diet I can go on that it stops the plaque buildup in my arteries. It's just how my body's built, and so
Right.
I can't live without the statins, and so it's my biggest fear. And so with that, what items are you most nervous about not having enough?
I would say the meds, as I mean, now I'm on a cholesterol med. And I do the 90-day, the 90-day thing. Could I live without it? Yeah, you know what? If I started eating a little cleaner, um, yeah, or I don't even know what the hell cleaner means.
Right.
Um, um, I'm a type 2. So, but I've controlled it with diet and exercise. And you wouldn't know the exercise part of it
Well, the
from
good
looking
news
at me.
is I think that in a situation like this, we're all going to get a little more exercise.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going to have a choice. We're all going to get a little more
Right.
exercise. We're going to be walking or riding bikes everywhere we want to go, unless we were smart enough to squirrel away the 1963 Beetle somewhere that nobody knows about.
Yeah. Yeah. Or an ECU that you could plug in and
Right.
and get back on the road. Yeah, medical training for me. That's still something that I haven't, like I said, I've done the first responder first aid training. I know how to do a tourniquet, but I haven't practiced it in years. I know how to do CPR, but I haven't done it in several years. Um, those types of things. Um, water. K Falls Bob says, his are meds and water. Um, if you're if you're on a city water supply, you absolutely need to think about some sort of a alternate water supply, because any big event happens, whether it's a weather event or societal breakdown, water's one of the first things that's going to get shut down. Luckily for me, I'm on a well, so I've got my own water supply, and I'm not reliant on somebody else for supplying it for me. I don't take insulin. I'm thankful for that. The the thing that I am most nervous, and it's not having enough of it. It's being able to protect my kids and my grandkids now.
Right.
I'm 600 miles away from grandkids, and I just don't think my kids are committed enough to this to read the tea leaves and know when to get out of Dodge, because that's a big part of it. Is you gotta know when to get out of Dodge, and it would pain me no end to have some sort of an event here or close enough to here that it would say, you need to leave. You got to leave all of this. I mean, it can happen, and you've got to know that it can happen. But
K Falls Bob posted something in the chat, said meds can be used much past the expiration date, and he posted a link to an article. And I popped the article up, and it's relatively long, so I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to paraphrase it really quick. The military is using expired medications under a testing program that found the drugs often remain safe and potent years beyond the manufacturer's recommended shelf life. And to avoid the cost of regularly replacing its massive stockpile of medicine, the Air Force asked the FDA in '85 to see if it could extend the effective lifetimes of the drugs it purchased. And go to the link, it's pretty good. And then at the very last paragraph, it says manufacturers put expiration dates on for marketing rather than scientific reasons. It's not profitable for them to have products on a shelf for 10 years. They want turnover. And that makes perfect sense. And anybody that's got a concern about meds, pull that article up, which I'll be reading in full after the show.
That goes for your canned and dried foods too.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Absolutely. I have eaten stuff that has been 2 or 3 years past its date,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just fine.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to go on to the next one. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
Nope, I'm done.
Okay. So now that things in the country seem to be going a little smoother under a new administration, things were a little hectic the last few years. Are you more relaxed and easing up, or are you more focused on preparing for the future? We had a long talk about this one last night.
Yeah, that is such a excuse me. That is such a loaded question. I think it's good to live your life, to enjoy a little bit. As a matter of fact, for the very first time in several years, Mrs. K6UDA and I are thinking, or we're planning some vacations, and we're talking about them like, hey, let's get the big bucket list vacations done now, while things are good. We've got a lot of this stuff handled, our infrastructure. We want to go, we want to go out, we want to go to Alaska. So we're planning an Alaska trip. I think, now's the time in the next 2 years. Now's the time to do those kinds of things. Live your life. It's nice that we've been able to breathe a sigh of relief after the last election. I was freaking nervous as hell about the prospect of a Kamala Harris presidency. I am equally right now concerned about a Gavin Newsom presidency. If you've never lived in California, guys, you have no freaking idea how tyrannical that man can be. There are, just talking about all those little things that Gavin Newsom has done to California doesn't do it justice until you've lived it, until you can't go to the store and you can't buy a grocery bag. You have to have your own grocery bag. Till you can't walk into a restaurant without a freaking COVID passport. Just stuff like that he arbitrarily did, but did not for his friends or himself. So it wasn't like he was a true believer. It was all bullshit. It was all just tyranny bullshit.
Which ties into my next statement. What kinds of things of concern you? I can read my own writing, I swear. What kinds of things concern you, or do you pay attention to in order to get a feeling of what the future may bring? And, concerns about who the possible next presidential candidates could be. For me, it's I pay attention. I work in the building industry as a housing designer, and so I'm very in tune with the housing market. pay attention to, sales. Are they dipping? Are they raising? What are the interest rate doing? What are the job rates at? You start reading the news, you start looking at some of the bigger builders in the country, and I'm talking national builders, not Joe's builders up the street. I'm talking your
You're
big
fading
name.
in and out.
Really,
Yeah.
it
I
might
think you
it
need to
might
be
be because
you need
I
to,
think
need
it's
to be a
because I
little
got a
closer.
storm coming. I
You need
think
to
I
be
got a storm
closer to
coming.
the mic.
It's a foot away from my face.
Well,
It's right here.
hey, mine's
Right
4 inches.
I can't get
4
it up to
inches, pile. 4 fucking inches.
But yeah, the housing market's what I pay attention to, and whatnot. I mean, I can't control. I mean, yeah, we can vote, but we can't really control who the next presidential candidate's going to be. But I mean, you kind of answered that's your concern, and I agree. But Bob isn't going to fix it. Neither's Jeff.
No.
We're going to vote. We're going to vote, but we're not going to control it. We're not going to
No.
control the housing market, but we can be prepared for what happens next. So going back to the last bullet point, I'm taking advantage of the good times right now, having a job, feeling like I got a little bit of decent job security, and I'm using that money and anteing up into the prepping stuff. So, a lot of people are letting off the preps. I still believe, yes, in living my life. Obviously, I'm going to Florida. I might not do that if the election was happening this year. I might wait till after the election. But I'm living my life, but I'm taking advantage of having the excess, and I'm squirreling as much of it away as I can, whether it be in food or ammo or silver or what have you. And because when the times get rough, like the last 2 years, I was nervous about, at that point in time, it was, oh my gosh, what's more important? Do I buy the bullets? Do I buy the water? What do I buy? What do I buy? And so K Falls Bob said I've been fading all morning. So
Yeah, you have. But
well,
it
and I
just
don't know why.
it got worse. I think you just weren't close enough to the mic, and
Gotcha.
and the ambient room shit turned your levels down.
Gotcha.
A couple of things that coming from the gallery there. RDO said, it's hard to admit, but a lot of people say that they would just take food and supplies from the Mormon community in an event. That is a concern. Let me tell you, the Mormon community, well, especially here, but I know out in California, very well armed, very well trained. They use their prior military and their current law enforcement people. They use them to the fullest, and they've got plans to protect them, their churches, their warehouses, and their infrastructure. They've got plans to do that. Just like I have plans to protect my house, my property, my family. And I'm fairly, you know what? Yeah, if the military wants to come get me, they're going to come get me. But they should just know this: any enemy, one won't go home. At least one won't go home, and that's all I can. That's all I can do. And Lord
Right.
help them. If let's see, can we move over here just a little bit? Oh, here, look at that. See that over there, Mr. Bullshit. My 50 is back home. That will make a big freaking hole in anything. And I know how to use it. Yeah. RDO also says, don't forget, if a big event does happen, you might become an immigrant. What would you need or take? There we get back to the bug out bag. And you almost have to think of it as, what can I take on my back? Because the chances are you might get your car 150, 200 miles. You might get your car 5 miles or no miles when something like that happens. We had Mrs. K6UDA and I, we had a plan when we were back in California. She worked in a very nearby town. I worked in a very nearby town, but I had told her, because she was a company woman. She really was. And it was all company. It was all about, being the corporate person. And I said, look, if the power ever went out and you notice that people's phones aren't working, that the cars aren't driving by, don't worry about that store. Just get everybody out, lock the door, whatever, and I will start heading up your way. And and I had an old Jeep, and I had an extra set of points for that Jeep, so I knew I could get that thing running in a crunch. And then I was stupid and I bought a newer Jeep. But
Last thing I got on my list. What's the single most fear you have that you feel you are prepping for first? The most likely to happen in your opinion?
I used to prep for an EMP. That used to be my all-time worst. And in some ways it still is.
I agree, it's the all-time worst for sure.
It's the all-time worst. That's that's going to knock out, that's going to kill 90% of the population in this country.
Yep.
But what do I prep for most now is going to be a financial collapse, the civil unrest. I would say the civil breakdown.
That textbook turned into a novel. Patriots.
Yes,
exactly.
100%. And
Yep.
we're living it. We're watching the left, the crazy left. And I don't call them Democrats or they are communists and communist sympathizers that have no idea what it's like to live under a communistic rule. And I don't either, but I've read enough from enough people that I don't want to be there. It's never worked anywhere in the world at any time in world history, other than maybe on a kibbutz in Israel, where it's, you're talking about 50 people, or on an island where you've got unlimited resources and you've got 50 people. That is the single most plausible thing that I see happening. And it's something that you can prep for. It's something that you could read the tea leaves, but you've got to be tuned in. You got to be tuned into the news, and you have to be tuned in to alternative news. You can't watch Fox, MSNBC, CNN, or even Newsmax for that matter. They're not tuned into that. You've got to be listening to, well, I get a lot of stuff off X. A lot of it's BS. You gloss over it, but you got to learn to kind of pick out the nuggets of stuff. You'll get raw reporting from guys like Andy Ngo, Laura Loomer, Tim Pool. They're out there, and they are really tuned in, so you don't have to be as tuned in. in the 2A world. You know, I mean, I'm tuned into what is it, Copper Jacket TV, Armed Scholar, Four Boxes Diner, Rob Romano. They live that stuff every single day, so I don't have to. And I kind of try to stay up on it, and that's where I wanted the K6UDA Guns and Ham Radio thing to come in. Was I wanted to fill in people who weren't so into it but needed to know about that kind of stuff. And I still want to. I've just dropped the ball. Sorry.
Well, that's all I got. And I just want to say thanks for letting me do this and let everybody know that's watching. You know, Bob and I talked a little bit about ideas for today's show because we didn't have a plan last night. And we came up with a general idea, but he didn't have any idea that I was going to write all these questions. He didn't get a chance to rehearse the answers to these questions. And
This is so freaking
this was
bitchin'.
all shooting from the cuff. And so I love that you had a pretty solid answer for every question I had out there. So I took a while to think about it, and you just fired them away. So that's pretty cool.
Well, you know, it comes from literally living this stuff every single day, and I'm pretty immersed in it, and I'm pretty opinionated.
No,
I'm very milquetoast, middle of the road.
Right. And I also want to let everybody know that's out there that's still watching. This is kind of almost exactly what we do on Discord. Now, we haven't done the Discord after show in quite a while, but I plan on doing that again once I get settled in down in Florida.
Yeah,
And this is kind of how our after shows are, and it's kind of cool. And when we start doing them again, you know, we invite all of you to join us on the Discord server because we do a circle, you know, round robin talk, and everybody can be involved, and it's a good time.
yeah, definitely. It is. And I really want to thank RDO, K Falls Bob, Gary. You know, there's a couple of guys that we haven't seen all summer, but and then again, you know, Jay out in California, and all these guys that check in on the radio side of the net. I don't do this. We don't do this for our benefit. We do this for the community. We do this for you guys. And it really makes a huge difference when you guys are giving us the feedback all the time. But I do want to say, let's see, I'm going to go run over here. I want to see how many thumbs up do we have, guys? 10. We've got 20 some odd people watching and 10 thumbs up. Let's bump that up real quick as we're signing off. I'm going to turn off the telephone thing. Guys, I put the telephone number up there because I knew that there's guys out there that have so much to contribute to this conversation. I want to learn. I don't know everything. I don't know anything. Fuck, I am not an expert in prepping, in survival, in tactics, in ham radio. I am not an expert in anything. I know a little bit about a lot of things. That's what I am. I guess that kind of makes me just one step above the village idiot, I guess.
A jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, that's me. That is me. Uh, let's see. You know what? You said something last night about why you're stepping on the gas, so to speak, with your
Yep.
preps right now.
Mhm.
Even though we're kind of in this peaceful, semi-peaceful time, things are looking better as far as our president is concerned, and we're not facing, or in our opinions, we're not facing the tyranny of a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris presidency, um, where they're really targeting people like us. But you're stepping on the gas, and you said something because you're in the housing market, basically.
Yep.
What exactly are you seeing that's got you stepping on the gas? We had talked about it last night. You said, man, it things are going to get really bad. And I see
They're
it.
they're they're showing they're trending towards the negative. I mean, I work in a highly incentivized industry. A lot of bonuses and things like that involved, and it's all geared on sales and margins. And a lot of the builders, and you can just Google national home builders and see that a lot of the big boys that build all over the country, their percentage of sales are trending down. And when I say trending down, I mean over the last 3 years, there's been about a 20% drop. They're trending on an average of about 7 to 9% a year. Slowed up a little bit with the change of administration, but still trending down. Um, People aren't buying houses because people can't afford houses, because the housing prices have gone up, the interest rates have gone up. Um, they say there's a lack of housing, which I believe there's not really a lack of housing. I believe there's a lack of affordable housing,
Hmm.
and a lot of these big companies, who are complaining or crying about. And here's where I'll get in trouble, where I mix my work and the show together. Um, that they're losing money hand over fist, and I argue that you're charging too much. And as the job market really doesn't seem to be improving, everybody says, oh, we can apply for jobs, you can apply for jobs. I've read several articles over the last couple of weeks where people have job openings. My company has job openings. We can't find candidates. Nobody can find qualified, viable candidates in almost any industry these days. And the more jobs that aren't filled, the more people that aren't making money. Everybody's trying to make it big on YouTube. All of the next generation is all trying to be an influencer and make their money that way. And there's qualified people out there that just can't find work. And I think that as the housing sales continue to trend down, the auto purchases continue to trend down, we are still, even though we have a new administration, we are still in jeopardy of having this economy fall and having that financial crisis, much like is in Patriots. And I don't think that there's any one president in this world that could solve or fix that. I still have the belief from before the election that it's destined to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably going to happen in our lifetime. I don't think we're going to survive and get out of it. I think it's going to happen, and it's just a matter of right now things are good in the world, better than they have been at least for the last couple of years. So I'm smashing the gas pedal and doing everything I can so that I'm better prepared for the next time when things aren't good in the world, or when it looks closer to like the possibility of civil unrest. And when you keep watching the news and you see all of these, I mean, it's happening in Michigan. Usually it was always, oh, that always happens somewhere else. But we've
Hmm.
had our Walmart stabbings, our mass stabbers going out and stabbing people, Walmart, then a Target. Um, and the more things like that happen, the more I think they're going to happen. Because somebody's like, oh, look at that. Look what happened. I'm going to be a copycat and I'm going to do it, but I got to do it bigger. And I got to do it bigger. And sooner or later, I feel like this country, somebody, some group, I'm not going to go so far as to say militia or organized group, but some group is going to say that's enough. I've had enough. And they're going to start what I believe will be the beginning of some kind of I don't even know if I'll say civil war, but there's going to be some kind of civil unrest. And,
I
you know,
will say civil war, and I would say we're already in a civil war.
the
I
starting
mean,
of it, the precursor. Yeah.
well, the the Civil War won. It took 10 years of buildup where it was, intermittent violence here and there
Yes.
before it broke out into, North versus South, Army versus Army. I think we're 5 years in to that maybe 10-year run up, and
Right.
maybe even further along. But what I see as far as that is you have a you have a government that is so divided amongst itself that they can't get anything done. Um, you know, Texas does what Texas just did. They want to reapportion or redistrict. California comes back and says we're going to wipe out all the freaking uh, Republicans we got in this state. Well, luckily, they've already got 80% of the state, and they're not going to be able to take out huge swaths. Maybe they can. I don't know. But it's even Congress. They can't get together and say, "Hey, this is what's good for the country." Everything is so divided, and then the people. We haven't seen. Um, we haven't seen a lot of the Antifa, the LA kind of riots in the past month or so, because I think those people right now are afraid of the consequences. All of a sudden, oh, there's consequences. So they're afraid of the consequences. So they've kind of gone a little bit underground. I don't know. I see us as we're already in the Civil War. It's just, and what is this? What is our next Civil War going to look like? Um,
Chaos.
it's not North versus South. It's an
Right.
ideological thing. It's like, hey, this guy in this house here is now against this guy in this house here on the same street in the same neighborhood. Um,
You don't even know how they came to that conclusion. And
exactly.
that's the scariest part. I'm so fearful. Not that it would be any better. Civil War is a civil war, and they're scary no matter what. But I'm so fearful because I think this time around, like you said, it's not North versus South. It's not a race thing. It's kind of almost not even a left versus right thing. I think it's just more of a people that hate versus people that don't hate. And I'm afraid that when it really breaks out, it's kind of you against the world because you're not going to know who your enemies are unless the person that comes up into your yard is a really good friend, like Terry. Obviously, Terry's not an enemy. But
And
other than that, anybody else that comes up in your yard, you automatically have to assume is an enemy because you're
yes,
not going to know.
yes.
And it's not
And
about an
that,
accent because it's not the North and South. It's not the accent. It's not the appearance. How do you know?
and that is precisely why I am such a big proponent of building your community, whether it's 2 people or 20 people. You build your community now while you could personally vet people.
Right. Yep.
Because once it really gets going, those
Too
are
late
the
to
only
vet 'em.
people you're going to be able to rely on.
Correct.
Man, we have been going for 2 hours
And 15 minutes.
and 15 minutes, but really 2 hours. The first 15 minutes is kind of just BS. We're getting warmed up and making sure that everything works. Do you have any parting words, my friend?
Now, just thank you. Thank you for today. Thank you for the last 2 years, and thank you for all the videos before that, because I've learned a lot from you.
And thank you. You know what? Thank you for standing up and being a part of this. And I mean, we've forged a good friendship
We
from
have
halfway across the country.
we have
I mean,
never met face to face.
never met face to face.
Never met.
This is, yeah, I mean, but we have,
Right.
which is
Field day. Field day
Yeah.
next year. I'm planning ahead. Field day next year. I'm making a trip.
Nice. That would be bitching. And I want to thank everybody else who's been in the gallery. I want to thank you guys. We got says 22 people
22
watching.
on 22 on X and 14 on Rumble.
Yeah. There's I mean that's a pretty good number. I thank you guys. I want you to leave a comment. Leave a comment on this video, especially on Rumble. I have a new video that I'm putting out, I think today. It's already on Rumble. I'm giving away radios. This is a K6UDA thing. You got to subscribe. Go look at the video that I put up. I put it up yesterday here on Rumble. I'm going to put it up on, what's it called? YouTube. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, I guess, today.
Well, you've so gotten away from them, you can't even remember their name.
Freaking Google, the evil Google. Yeah. Yes, Shadow Bear. That is 100%. Texas is just trying to counter past gerrymandering by Democrats. And that's California is the absolute worst offender at gerrymandering. Do you know that Nancy Pelosi's district in California, it narrows down at one point. It's two city blocks wide by 5 miles. They cut out the business owners who were a little bit, center leaning. Just cut them out. Can't vote for her. And all of California is like that. That's why California has become what it is now. It's not just the governor, it's all of them. And the Republicans are worthless there. They just are. Need a strong Republican. Okay. I think that's it. We've killed this one. I love these conversations, and I think after Labor Day, maybe we'll hit some of the harder subjects again. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I think it's summer vacation. I'm going to say it's summer vacation, and it's not that people are losing interest in preparedness. But maybe we'll get back to some more radio stuff. I definitely want to do the night vision, but I'm going to wait until after September starts. So,
And I may not be around the next 2 weeks. So Next weekend is my last weekend here, and then Labor Day weekend is when we're leaving. So
Yeah.
I may not be around. I may do it from the road. We'll see.
Well, whatever you can do, my friend, that would be bitching. Can't wait to see your new digs in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I'll head
guys.
down there into hurricane.
Yeah. I see nothing. No, I see nothing in the peanut gallery. So with that, let's just say 7-3, and we'll catch you. I will catch you next week, no matter what, whether by myself, whatever. I'll think of something to talk about, something light like this. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some of you guys will actually call in and we'll talk about the call in or do something cool. Anyway, 7-3.
Take care, everybody.